The man with the ridiculous mustache is back to solve yet another murder. Kenneth Branagh stars and directs in his third Hercule Poirot film, A Haunting in Venice. Now, this is based on Agatha Christie's Halloween Party and plays a bit with the possibility of the supernatural. Is this mystery one that you'll want to solve? In post-World War II Venice, Poirot, now retired and living in his own exile, reluctantly attends a seance. But when one of the guests is murdered, it's up to the former detective to once again uncover the killer. So, for me, the most important part of any mystery movie or show is whether it can effectively keep me from guessing until the near end or at the reveal. Now, there's nothing worse than figuring out all of the intrigue at the beginning of a story than having to sit through it just to wait till the end for a confirmation of what was so obvious. Now, thankfully, Branagh kept everything obscured so that I was continually guessing throughout, and I never fully arrived at the answer before it was revealed. Now, there was one portion I guessed right up front, but it turned out to be so much less important, so that was good. This takes place in Venice, like the title says. The settings, they're absolutely beautiful. We're taken along the canals and through narrow alleyways as characters float in the gondolas. And then to create a creepier vibe, the events take place on Halloween, when everybody is in some sort of long dark robe and wearing odd masks. Now, there's one sequence that looks like it belongs in Eyes Wide Shut because all of the gondoliers, they're all wearing identical masks that just look ominous and threatening. Now, most of the cinematography in this is beautiful. To create more of that off-kilter and odd feeling, many Dutch angles are used so that we're either looking up or down at a scene with the camera at just kind of a strange angle. Now, before the mystery starts, there are one or two that are used and they feel out of place. And it's daytime and nothing creepy's going on. But once Poirot arrives at the house where everything will take place, the angles enhance the uneasiness. There's also a sequence with the filming that actually broke me out of the movie. Branagh has a camera strapped to his front so that as he runs or walks, he remains completely centered in the frame with just everything else behind him in motion. Now, this by itself, it's not bad. I mean, it has its place, but not in this movie. It was so jarring and different, and then followed immediately by a scene that looked like it was filmed by either a GoPro or a phone. Now, thankfully, outside of this few-minute sequence, the rest of the film looks amazing. I mean, Branagh uses so much shadow and creative lighting to bring up the spook factor and then also create a huge air of mystery and suspicion. Now, the cast works really well together to make a well-rounded group of suspects. Jamie Dornan and Jude Hill team up again with Branagh as they did in Belfast. Now, here, again, they're playing father and son. And both are excellent at introducing doubt into their innocence. But they're also very sympathetic, too. So I was rooting for them not to be the culprits. Michelle Yeoh stars as a medium. I love how matter-of-fact and then snarky she is. She's spunky, and the attitude works amazingly well when it's against Poirot. They're at opposing viewpoints of reality or even plausibility, and it makes for some fun verbal sparring. Now, Kelly Riley is a homeowner and the hostess, and she's a grieving character. Because of the tragicness of what she's endured, it's very easy to be sympathetic. But she's got this weepy look just down pat, and it's very convincing. Now, if you saw John Wick 2, the villain in that was played by Riccardo Scamarcio, and he's back in Italy to play a police officer who's assisting Poirot. Now, he's quiet, he's more of a background player in this movie, but he's also integral for figuring out who did what. And I like the mystery and the gruffness that he brings to the character because he's kind of a dark horse within the group. I mean, he's still got good presence, but he is a little bit of an enigma. Now, one actor who I was not familiar with, Camille Cotton, is excellent. I mean, she's sort of a housekeeper for Kelly Riley, but she comes across more as a caretaker and a friend. She's smart, observant, but also we can heap a ton of suspicion on her because of the access that she's allowed within the house. And I love how her presence plays into the mystery, putting her in locations and even conversations that really amp up the mistrust. Now, probably the standout for me, and it wasn't something that I was expecting, Tina Fey is really great as an American author who knows Poirot. Their interactions, they're spicy and biting at times, but there's also this softness that's shared which can allude to more that's unsaid. Now, Fey uses her natural wit and timing to create levity when it's needed, but also snark and doubt too. And she was an excellent addition to the cast, and the way that she works with all the other actors creates this natural flow to conversations. Now, if you have seen the trailer, there is a hint at the supernatural. But Agatha Christie, to the best of my knowledge, she never wrote a supernatural story. Hers were grounded in what could be proven. But I really enjoy how this new angle is worked within the storyline. I mean, this is an adaptation, so Branagh could introduce more than what the source material had. Now, I'm not saying he did or he didn't, just that the possibility is there. I don't want to spoil it for you. I will say, though, that there is resolution to the case and the answers make sense. But not every single action or movement is explained. And I like how that can open up a conversation or a discussion afterwards on how we interpret some of it. Now, the movie's just under 2 hours, but there was a point that I felt the time. There's a ton of exposition in this, and some of it comes about in the form of characters saying out loud who they are and what they do, or why they're in a particular place. Now, in a novel, this makes sense, but when we have a visual to accompany actions and words, the characters don't need to spell out every single moment of their existence on the screen. These types of interactions, they added time to the story, but more importantly, they reduced momentum and urgency within the narrative. For me, this is an easy movie to watch and enjoy. There's an excellent setup for plot and mystery, a bunch of viable suspects, and then a mystery that's held close to the chest with misdirection and wrong suspicions raised that kept me guessing the whole way through. The pacing is a little slow at times, and some of the dialogue hinders the swiftness of the story, but all in all, this is a fun and enjoyable show to take in. And now that I know the answers, though, I'm not sure how rewatchable it is. But the acting, it's excellent, and I look forward to seeing as many of these as Branagh wants to do. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and some brutal violence. I give A Haunting in Venice 3.5 out of 5 couches. So what's an Agatha Christie story that you'd like to see Branagh take on? Even though And Then There Were None isn't a Poirot story, I'd love to see how a modern take on that phenomenal mystery could be tackled. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.